Thank you for joining us for the Explore Analytics. Right now we're going to take a look at how you can use Explore Analytics to easily explore your data. Our goal at Explore Analytics is to make reporting as easy as asking a question. We want this to be self-service where any user can create and view those reports of that data to remove gatekeepers between the users and their data. The way that we do this is by using a drop-down interface that has no complex skill set required, where you're literally dragging and dropping, choosing choices from a menu, clicking on things to understand things. So you could try something, make a quick change, rather than having to go through a complex set of hoops to get your data. Let's take a look at this in practice. Right now, we're going to take a look at running some analysis and exploring the data on some sales figures that we have. So this is a flat list that's showing us each individual payment by a customer and by an amount. You'll notice on the left-hand side, I have this ability to see what are the fields that are selected and what are the other fields that are available. And I can also see the relationships on related tables. So for instance, from the customer, I have access to other information about the customer or about the product that the customer bought. This is going to be very key as we start to analyze this data and try to look at trends and get at a deeper level of information about this. Because right now, I can see all the payments, but I have no idea, what's being bought, why is it being bought, where is it being bought. Let's take a couple of minutes to see how we can explore this data just by asking some questions and using the slicing and dicing power of Explore Analytics. So the first step I'm going to do is look at this as a pivot. This is a very powerful tool for being able to break down, recategorize, and look at the values of data within this. So for example, right now we have a pivot and it's showing me how many transactions there were. So let's say I actually wanted to break this down by how many transactions there were by each category of product that we sell. So, we can see that more people are buying from our home products than from our garden products. And I can break down that further. So now I can see those counts in those different areas, but maybe it would actually be more useful for me to see the value of how much they spent. So I'm going to drag the amount and say, let's look at the sum of what was spent. So now for each of these product categories and subcategories, I can see how much was spent for each of these. Now, right now it's being shown all at once, but maybe I want to break that down over time and actually look at that, let's say per year. So now I can see, in 2008 what was being bought, in 2009, 2010, etc. And I can layer this as complicated and with as many layers as I'd like. As you can see, it's very easy to add, remove columns, and get the most out of this data. It's just about what do I want to break this down by? How do I want to break this down? But in a pivot perspective, it's still something that's very analytical and dry. Let's see what we can do that might be more visual and better visualization of the data. So I'm going to switch over and take a look at it as a chart. So now it's showing me kind of a categorization chart, for each of those different areas. How is this broken down? But I'd prefer to look at this as a different format. I could choose a timeline or a category, an XY scatter plot, or a map chart. Let's look at a timeline first because I was interested in how this has changed over time. So you can see that it's already trending, by payment date, by product category, by the sum of the amount. Or if I wanted to, I could say, let's look at the country. How has this changed in different countries over time? By default, it's showing me this as a line, but using the options at the top, I could say, actually, let me stack that as a bar so that when I hover over, I can see the total payment as well as the payment of each of these individual countries. And at any time, if I wanted to get back into that detailed view, I can drill through, and this is going to show me those payments in that date time for those countries. Again, just quickly dragging and dropping, clicking some options to be able to see things, in the way that I want to see them, see trend lines or whatever other analysis I want. Now let's take a look at maybe geographical, now that we've brought countries into it. So for those same sales figures, I'd like to see the location by country of the sales. And we're going to use the customer's country as the way of using it. I'd like to see it as a pie chart. So the size of the pie is going to be the amount that was spent Let's actually make that the total amount, not the average. And we're going to further break that down by what was the category of the product. So now I can see per country what was the breakdown straight from here. And if I wanted to bring that time element back into it, I can bring it to an animation to say, all right, let's look at this by payment date, grouped by year from oldest to newest. And I'm going to include all. So now I can see here's all, here's 2008, or I can animate it to see how that changes over time. So you can see in just a couple minutes we were able to look at this data by what types of products were our customers buying, where are they buying it, how is it changing over time, and come up with some different ways of interacting and visualizing the data. I hope that gives you some ideas on how you can use Explore Analytics to visualize, analyze, and understand your own data.